Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Over the last couple of days, I've been back in contact with Roger Livermore, and he's been a very busy man. And we've got a follow up to the Dorothy Bain slash Humza Yousaf not being legitimately in power and ought to resign story. We've got the update on that, but there is also, from speaking to him, another thing that he's going to be doing, which will be coming out very shortly. Within hopefully a week or so. So you won't want to miss that one. I'm not gonna. There's no spoilers on that one. I'm not teasing that one at all just yet. I'm going to wait until we've got something. Then I'll tease it. But you won't want to miss it. So do hit subscribe. Don't want to miss what's happening because there is a lot and it's fast moving now. But we're going to have a look now at that story about Bain being illegitimately in post and how she should resign because of the lies. This is the follow up that he's done. Now I saw the initial draft yesterday. It was a bit, it was a bit in the rough because there were still things he was still to put in, but it gave me the general gist of what was going. And now this morning I've been given the finalised version that is going out to these people today. So we'll take a look at that email. We'll go through it and see what the update is and where it's likely to go. Probably nowhere, because these people are going to cling on with grasping fingers right till the bitter end. But if everyone's aware of it, we can do something. Here goes. So, as per usual, I've made sure you can't see Roger's email address just to protect him. Don't care if you get mine; you all know mine because it's in my profile. You can go onto YouTube and have a look, and you've got my email address. But I don't care about that one. But Roger's obviously, I want to. You don't want. And I'm sure 99.99% of you aren't, but there will always be the nutters. And so we need to protect that. But anyway, there we go. So this is the email, and it's to Douglas Ross, Anna Sawar, Alex Cole-Hamilton, Lorna Slater, and the Right Honourable Alison Johnson. And we all know all those names and who they are. So this is this follow-up. So I'm just going to read out what we'll do, and I'll break at each point. So number one, Lord Advocate's lying. On the 16th of January, 2024, Lord Advocate Bain, in a statement of the COP's post office prosecutions, committed an exceptionally serious lie. Bain stated the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal is the only public prosecution service in Scotland. It acts independently and makes prosecutorial decisions in the public interest. And we've covered that in the past because we know that that's not true. And Roger explains why in this bit. So it's, as Bain knows, their ministerial-led government department, COPS, is the SNP, Scottish Government's prosecution service. Bain was stating that the government is independent of the government. Ever since they were appointed, Bain has been repeatedly stating this nonsense and misleading both Parliament and the public. As if for the Lord Advocate's black is white, a position of peak absurdity. COPS is not a public prosecution service. It is the SNP government's prosecution service, an agent of a political entity. COPS and their heads, Lord Advocate Bain and Solicitor General Charteris, as Scottish ministers, are exceptionally unlawful. As always, being the Scottish government, they consistently interfere with and prevent the independence of the Scottish judiciary. The SNP government's prosecution service, COPS, is wholly different from the rest of the UK. For example, the DPP and the CPS for England and Wales are definitely not the government. They are independent. You do not get UK ministers deciding who gets prosecuted and who does not. You do in Scotland, and it is all under the First Minister. That is the way of Scotland's unlawful, unconstitutional, dysfunctional, corrupt and mad prosecution system, headed by Lord Advocate Bain and Scottish First Minister Yousaf. This is part of Scotland's fundamentally and extensively unlawful justice system, to which ASAP NHS will shortly be returning to as we come up to its 25th anniversary. 2. Scottish First Minister's lying. Scottish Government Minister Bain was lying to pretend that Scotland had an independent lawful prosecution system when patently it does not. Deliberately lying, or in parliamentary language, knowingly misleading Parliament, means automatic cessation of office by the Minister, according to the Ministerial Code. 8 weeks on from the latest and high-profile lie, and Bain is shockingly still in office. ASAP NHS pointed out the lie to Scottish First Minister Yousaf on the 8th of February 2024. And of course, we covered that email last time we did the emails on this. But he failed to remove Bain. The Scottish First Minister was backing the lie, and so was himself knowingly misleading the Scottish Parliament. The Scottish First Minister was therefore required to resign. We pointed this out on the 18th of February. See the second email, and we've done that. But nothing has happened. The lie is maintained by Bain and Scottish First Minister Yousaf. Scottish First Minister's position is like that of his Minister for Prosecutions. The government, he says, is independent of the government. 3. Holyrood ministers, unbelievable. Well, there's so much of this. There's so much of this is unbelievable, and yet still it continues. It's not even funny anymore. He said, nothing said by Scottish ministers need now be considered to be true. Ministers are allowed to lie on an issue that is fundamental to the justice system. Lie on this, and it is open season. Ministers can lie on anything. Lying is tolerated and now encouraged. Lying can now be standard operating practice. Oh yeah, no, it is true. Lying is policy. There is no such thing as the truth in Scottish politics anymore. The ministerial code is rendered meaningless. Scottish First Minister Yousaf does not uphold the code and is therefore again not a fit and proper person to be the Scottish First Minister. They disqualify themselves. The Scottish First Minister has form on this. He was the Minister for Justice, presiding over the government's constant interference with what must be independent judicial processes, even dictating what cases the judge take and what they do not, i.e. enemies of the SNP got prosecuted, friends go free. And just as an aside, on that, you have something that Craig Houston mentioned was about letters. I'm not going to go into too much because it's his story, but I will also say letters written by Nicola Sturgeon to or on behalf of people that she'd never met. Strange enough, but that's all I'm going to say on that one. That's Craig's story. A little teaser. That's Craig's story. He's going to come up with that one. Anyway, 4. Ministers Bain and Yousaf self-disqualified from office. For such a major breach of the ministerial code and on such an issue of deceiving Parliament and the public on their unlawful government-run prosecution system, it requires that Lord Advocate Bain and Scottish First Minister Yousaf cease office with immediate effect. Remaining is not an option. Their reputation, when this matter comes out, will be shot. They will not be able to function with credibility or legitimacy. Well, I don't think there's any credibility there in the eyes of people now. I think all credibility is now gone. We know this. But not just on this matter, but on all matters. They lie with impunity all the time, and then they're caught out with their lies, and so they lie some more. That's all they do. 5. Breaches of human rights law and constitutional law. The lying issue is an open and shut case. It is the prelude to the gross unlawfulness and breaches of ECHR, Human Rights Act 1998, Constitutional Reform Act 2005 as it applies to Scotland, the Judiciary and Courts Scotland Act 2008, sections 48, 5 and 57 of the Scotland Act 1998, Lord Advocate's claimed exemption from the ECHR is invalid, and Nemo Judex in causa sui, you cannot judge yourself. The SNP government, being the prosecutor, is unlawfully outside the constraints of the law, and there are many other legal claims against them. Yeah, effectively, what they're saying is if someone was to bring a case against the government, it would be the government prosecuting itself. And I'm sure it would find itself quite innocent. 6. Cessation of office. Both Scottish First Minister Yousaf and the Lord Advocate Bain must cease office with immediate effect. A lying head of prosecutions and the system of investigation of deaths, Bain, is not permitted. They guarantee that the public can have no confidence in the justice system. Well, we don't really, do we, when they're getting, auras of women giving litter-picking duties. Likewise, a Scottish First Minister on such a fundamental matter as the unlawfulness of their prosecution system is finished. There can be no way that they can remain in office. There is no way back. The damage has been done. 7. Scottish Government cover-up. What we have is the SNP Green Government covering up that there is currently not a lawful prosecution system in Scotland, just their own pet system. 8. Hollywood sanctioning lying. With these emails, we've notified the opposition leaders and the presiding officer, the Honourable Alison Johnson, MSP, but nothing has happened. That means that ministers in Holyrood can lie with impunity. Without the trust in ministers' statements, Holyrood cannot be a functioning parliament. Shockingly, Holyrood has just accepted this lying, and the exceptionally unlawful, unconstitutional, dysfunctional and corrupt government-run prosecution system. Holyrood is not a functioning parliament. Unlawfulness. Currently, we have the extremely serious issue of lying to Parliament on a matter fundamental to the operation of legitimacy of Holyrood. It also relates to the major breaches of human rights law and constitutional law. The SNP Green Government are engaged in extreme breaches of international law, UK law and Scots law. It breaches the European Convention of Human Rights Articles 1, 2 and 6. This law applies to all 46 countries in the Council of Europe. It includes the 27 of the EU. It breaches Articles 2 and 6 of the Human Rights Act 1998, the Constitutional Reform Act 2005 as it applies to Scotland, the Judiciary and Courts Scotland Act sections 48.5 and 57 of the Scotland Act 1998. With the SNP government also being the prosecutor, it unlawfully places it outside the law. The rule of law is absent and it fails the main tests of being a democracy, i.e. within the Copenhagen criteria. Scotland is not a functioning democracy as it does not have a functioning judiciary. 10, finally. Judiciary and media cover-up. The judiciary and media also go along with this unlawfulness. They cover it up. Both have long known the fatal anomaly, but they do nothing. In the media, exceptions are extremely rare. There is Ben Borland, editor of the Scottish Express, and recently YouTube channel Silver Fox Hot Takes. Thank you very much for the mention, Roger. The latter flushed out the head of the lawyers in Scotland, Roddy Dunlop KC, Dean of the Faculty of Advocates. On Twitter and X, he said that it was acceptable for Bain to lie to Holyrood. For Dunlop, it was acceptable for SNP government to run the system of prosecutions, and for the government to run the system of investigating deaths. He was opposed to the essential rule of law requirement of the separation of the powers. Germany in the 1930s is not a good model. From his position, it is now going to need a new Dean of Faculty. Nothing more is needed to be said. There is a constant theme of absence of legal competence, be it on the basics of the law or technical law on public safety. Example, patient safety and the pandemic. The absence of law in Scotland explains the scale of the pandemic here, but it also led to many thousands of deaths across all of the UK. This was via the Four Nations adoption of the Scottish government's Homicidal Infection Control Manual, known as NIP-CM. The main points are backed by a large amount of readily available prosecution-grade evidence. They are true, and the issues are in the public interest. Yours sincerely, Roger M. Livermore, retired Her Majesty's Principal Inspector and Crown Prosecutor. And then there's the people he has CC'd it to. Sunak, Starmer, Ed Davey, Alistair Jack, Ian Murray, Lord Carloway, Hamza Yousaf, Dorothy Bain. He's not letting go. He's like a dog with a bone. And by doing so, he's protecting and working for everyone in Scotland. And he needs all the assistance and support he can get. I'm going to come up, we'll round off. So there you go. We want to hope that at least one of the people on that list of contacts reads, understands, inwardly digests, and then next week, say Thursday at FMQs, twists the knife. Puts Hamza Yousaf in a very, very awkward position. highlights it. If he does it in FMQs or she does it in FMQs, it'll be reported, it'll be out there. Now we want to hope that that's the case. We want to hope that someone uses this in order to further the cause of protecting the people of Scotland. Don't hold your breath though, eh? They're all in it together. Anyway, thanks for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And let's all thank Roger for the sterling work the guy is actually doing. Very hard, laborious, painstaking work. And we just want to hope that something comes of it. Anyway, till then, bye.